industry in California started in the Depression and grew quickly throughout the war and post-war years. A highly mobile populace facing a Depression economy made renting a viable method for getting things accomplished. In those early years, there were long distances between population centers and a shortage of equipment, particularly during the war.
Men of vision and action saw an important need and developed a whole new industry to accommodate those needs. One of the first was Mac McNeese, a blacksmith from Fayette, Alabama. He started building two-wheel trailers in 1932 and locating them on vacant lots and gas stations. He sold many trailers to individuals and thus started them in the rental industry. In 25 years, Mac had built his own store and had some 25 trailer locations. His store had trucks, trailers, sports equipment, movie cameras, and sound gear for minor studios. Mac was a real pioneer who helped many others to see and experience the advantages of rental operation. In this same era, a young salesman named Palmer Grass, with extraordinary design, machinist, and mechanical abilities, arrived in the LA area from Minnesota. Palmer's strong social tendency and 4 grown children helped him to become a leader and influencing force in the new developing rental industry. In 1937, Palmer acquired Acme Truck Rental, selling an auto repair business to do so. At that time, Acme was located at Hollywood Boulevard in Mariposa until 1939, when it was moved to Santa Monica Boulevard in Alexandria, where it is still currently operating. During the years, Palmer became involved in scaffolding, floor care products, and dozens of other rental equipment items. At one point, Palmer held in the backyard of his home a barbecue with suppliers, vendors, and other rental operators, discussing the rental industry and its great future.
But I got started and worked for a man that was renting trucks. And then I thought I'd like to get into the business myself of renting trucks. So I found an empty lot on Santa Monica Boulevard, and the Brace Finance Company let me have 2 trucks without any money down. And I started off on that too, with those 2 trucks. Then I purchased a second-hand cement mixer, and then I bought a second-hand trailer that had been burnt and fixed that up. Then I took the cement mixer and I put a brace behind it so I could carry a wheelbarrow at the same time. Then I put a couple of tubes in so I could carry a couple of shovels, so I had a setup, so if a man rented a wheelbarrow, he had the whole works. After I got started, Sam Greenberg of Van Nuys, why he started into the rental business end a little bit. And then Wanamaker, that had a little service station, he had got in and started into the rental business. Then Bob Irving, which he's passed away now, he got started in. And we tried to start a kind of a little association. And we had some meetings, but everybody got drunk, and we never got anywhere. So finally, Sam Greenberg and Wanamaker and myself and Bob Irving, I invited them to my house. And I said, we'll have no drinks. And I said, let's talk about this thing. Let's get this thing going.
On the other side of the Hollywood Hills in Van Nuys, a young car salesman named Sam Greenberg found a used truck could be rented rather profitably, even when it would not sell. Young Sam bought 5 trailers from Ed McNeese and started into truck and trailer rentals. In 1936, he bought 2 new trucks for $850 apiece and moved into a leased lot at Haynes and Van Nuys Boulevard, paying $10 per month rent to the water department. He operated this yard until 1948, when he purchased his home office location on Oxnard Street. When World War II started, Sam's trailer fleet approached 100 units, and his inventory included 30 trucks, 8 Ford tractors, and 10 to 12 mixers.
This is where all of us started out, with renting a few trailers. And in those days, all our volume was in renting trailers. Of course, in those days, it was easy to hook up a trailer to a car because they had substantial bumpers, and it was easy and quick, and 1 or 2 hitches took care of all the various models of Model A's and Fords and all those various cars and the Chevys. So we sort of got our start mainly in the trailer rental business. Well, of course, the legislative problem was probably one of the major reasons for getting the CRA started, because of the problems that arose in Sacramento. And of course, number one problem was many years ago they were putting in a bill to require that anybody that rented a trailer, in order to use the trailer, must have a chauffeur's license. And in those days you had two types of license, a regular driver's license and a chauffeur's license. And of course that would have put a big problem for us if we had to require everybody that rented a trailer to have a chauffeur's license or even a truck. And so we went to work and aligned ourselves with the farm group in the Central Valley, and we got a bill in there to block that legislation so we could still continue to rent trailers. And that was one of our major first efforts in legislative problems. And of course, after that, many other things came along. The recent deal was our tow dolly deal, where that was deemed to be illegal to rent a tow dolly to a customer to haul a disabled car, because that was three vehicles: the disabled car, the vehicle that pulled it, and the tow dolly. And three vehicles constitutes a special driver's license, a chauffeur's license, and that would prohibit us from renting the tow dolly. So we got that bill through to allow us to rent a tow dolly without having a chauffeur's license. And that was a major accomplishment in this recent legislative problems. This Long Beach Convention was our first major successful rental convention, and since then it's just gotten bigger each year.
Sam was one of the first organizers and sent Ann, his key employee, around to other trailer operations to stop the cutthroat buck-a-day pricing on trailer rentals. Ann's persistence and efforts led to a rate increase in 1943 and a joint victory party for the participants. However, this action led to an antitrust investigation for price fixing, which further strengthened the unifying bonds of the group. In Burbank, young Jack Wanamaker decided to start renting trailers to augment his service station business, since he felt the impending war would cause a gas shortage. In October of 1940, he first attempted to obtain trailers on consignment from McNeese. But as Jack put it, McNeese was fishing at the time. Jack moved his trailers and other equipment to a vacant lot on Olive Street. He put up a canvas awning between two trees and worked from a board counter outside, placing the phone on the steps of a small building across the drive. This lot has become the site of one of the largest and most modern rental operations in the world today. Through Stan Johnson, a builder of steel trailers, Jack became heavily involved in trailers and the many types of hitches needed on pre-war automobiles. With Bill Doyen, an ex-Johnson employee, Jack developed a notched bar hitch with sliding couplers and threaded fasteners, which would fit most cars. Jack and Stan Garner further refined these hitches by casting them for greater strength than the angle and channel iron hitches previously available.
We were able to advance a little farther on trailer rents because we could fit cars easier and quicker, and I think people were more enthused about hooking onto equipment or trailers, whatever they had to have, and I think it helped bring everybody, made money for everybody. I know it made money for me, although I can't say that I made a lot of money on the manufacturing business as such, because it took too much time away from the rental business. But finally I sold, and it was a happy day that I didn't have to make the hitches. I was glad to see somebody else make them. If somebody else would have made them from the beginning, I would have rather not been in it, but I thought it was a necessity. That's why I developed that hitch and tow bar. We contacted a restaurant, and we contacted as many people as was in the area and had them come to this meeting, and we just talked about things in general and little problems and stuff, and we got acquainted with one, and there's more a deal of getting acquainted with everybody, and everybody was so willing to help one another, and everybody was, if they had anything that they knew how to make an extra buck, they wasn't holding back. They told us, and it just seemed like it worked out good, and everybody seemed to like each other, and that's how the trailers. And after a while, we decided we ought to name it that California Trailer Rental Association. Bob Irving had a lot to do with switching over to the California. He came up with the idea that maybe we ought to go California-wide.
Bill Grass, Palmer's son, returned from the China Theater with a new bride and an expanded knowledge of equipment and maintenance. The Grass children took over Palmer's rental operation, and Palmer went into manufacturing and distribution. Both Bob and Bill began expanding their rental operation and became involved with the local truck, trailer, and equipment rental associations, which were being formed.
Well, CRA came out of California Trailer Rental Association. I think that was the name. And CRA is the culmination of what I remember the second or third association that was, the early associations were sort of halfway formed. This was formed pretty good. The latest deal was because of a driver's license scare that they were going to legislate out the fact that people could rent trucks because they had to have a special license. So I think that was our motivating force on this last binding one that came through that created California Rental Association, which is probably the best rental association, equipment rental association in the world. We had the joy of starting a new industry with some of the greatest people in the world. Everybody in the rental industry loves everybody else, and we withhold no secrets, and we all love each other. And people are just amazed and astounded by, especially the bunch in California, to get along so great together.
Was a few years before we was able to buy new equipment. The first new things we did buy were 4 new Ford trucks.
Bill, do you recall that first CRA convention? That was in Long Beach, was it?
Long Beach, right? That convention I shall never forget, because I was given a duty of making a speech, a presentation, and I hadn't done that for many years. And boy, I worried day and night about getting up in front of all those people and giving this presentation. It came off well, and I was satisfied, and it went on like that for many years. The only people giving these talks and everything were us rental people. Each was assigned a certain subject, and we'd get up every year after year and give this presentation, telling our knowledge of what we know about the subject that we were given. It was nice to be with the association all these years and through its growth.
By 1946, there were several nationwide associations for truck and trailer rental groups. Sam's efforts to coordinate a higher daily rental rate had shown many local operators the advantages of a unified voice. In September of 1946, 11 rental operators formed the Southern Trailer Rental Association and elected Jack Wanamaker as their president. Born of the backyard barbecues and dinners hosted by suppliers and operators like Palmer Grass, Stan Johnson, Sam Greenberg, and Bob Irving, the group patterned its actions after the national associations.
By the mid-50s, other rental groups were forming. The Equipment Rental Association was formed in 1955 for rental dealers who supplied contractor and homeowner equipment. The Northern Rental Association was established in 1956. Both groups had a local chapter concept which proved very popular and useful to members.
In 1956, a nonprofit association called the California Trailer and Rental Yard Association was formed. In 1957, the association hired Dick Hill as executive director to replace Mr. Crail, their legal advisor. Dick initiated a newsletter, security bulletin, and helped develop several manuals. In 1959, the group faced a proposed graded license law which would require a chauffeur's license for all truck or trailer pulling operations. The proposal threatened the existence of the rental industry, and many meetings, trips, and political maneuvers were required over a 3 to 4 year period to preclude enactment.
In the late 50s and early 60s, the California Rental Association was successful in implementing several group benefit plans, including workers' compensation, health and life insurance, and profit sharing.
The original California Trailer and Rental Yard Association group of 48 members grew quickly. They elected directors from Northern California, the Bay Area and Central Valley, the Central Coast, and the High Sierra regions. Jack Decker of Fresno, Al Clary of San Francisco, and Bill Cushing of Pacheco all worked industriously throughout the 50s and 60s to make the group a true statewide association.
It's quite an honor for me to have been associated with an association such as CRA, and it's helped everybody, including me. I think the best place for me to start is the time when I went into the rental business, which was in 1956, and this is 1983, so that's quite a few years ago. Felix Henshaw, who had a rental store here, and I started the first Sacramento local association, and that was about 1960. We had quite a time getting the local participants to join us, but we did get it off the floor. And when I became acquainted with the California Rental Association, it was called the California Rental and Trailer Association, if I recall. Anyway, I met the local association from down south, the fellows that came up here in 1963. They were involved in a bill and legislation, and they had a meeting in Sacramento and invited me to come to the meeting. They heard about our association up here. And that's when I first met Sam Greenberg, Jack Wanamaker, Bob Irving, the Grass Boys, most of the fellows down south, including Dick Hill at that time. And they invited me to become one of the directors of the California Rental Association.
I'm Bernie Sims of San Jose, California. I got into the rental business in 1950 and called my company Rent Right Equipment Rentals. This was done through the association with a friend of mine, Bob Irving. Bob Irving, as many of you will remember, was one dynamo in this business and was a guiding light to me and many, many other people. Through his acquaintance, I got into association with Sam Greenberg, Bob Groff, Bill and Bob Grass, Jack Wanamaker, and then in turn was asked to join California Rental Association. The association that I had with these gentlemen that I just spoke of and the association itself was a tremendous help to me in getting into my business and getting it started and making a success. I'm retired now, but I really want to say that I miss it tremendously. I miss the association. I miss the camaraderie with the people. I miss being involved in business. And I think that all you people out there that are in this business are in one of the greatest businesses in the world, and there is no stopping you.
I'm Hank Mockabee, past owner of Cross Rentals. I started in the rental business working for my dad, who rented cars back in 1928. In 1929 came the crash, and that was the end of the rental business then. I surfaced again in 1950 in the rental business in Concordia, Kansas, and went from there. We started the Northern California Rental Dealers Association, which covered an area from Salinas to north of Redding. We had approximately 12 chapters. I was president of the Santa Clara chapter. We had 4 divisions of the Santa Clara chapter. That went along fine, and then as we grew, we did have one trade show, and after that, through the efforts of our friend Dick Hill, who could see the light and wanted us all from the Southern California and Northern California to join in as one, so that we would have more power speaking for all the rental people in Sacramento.
In 1961, the association changed its name to the California Rental Association to more appropriately reflect its broader interests and investments. Membership continued to grow, and they decided to create associate memberships for vendors and suppliers. When the American Association of Rental Operators held their 1961 annual convention in Long Beach, Dick Hill envisioned an idea. He studied the possibilities and began planning. He rented a hotel and several parking lots for supplier exhibits. The CRA held their first convention at Long Beach's Lafayette Hotel in 1963. It was a joint effort with the ERA and a tremendous success. The two groups split the profit of $577.10 and began making plans for an annual recurrence.
The mid and late 60s were primarily notable for three important occurrences. In 1965, the California Rental Association and the Equipment Rental Association merged with new bylaws and stronger member benefits. Additionally, a conversion bill and sales tax bill were passed to reduce theft loss and sales tax on equipment purchased with taxes paid. Both of these legislative enactments are still in effect today and greatly facilitate present-day rental operations.
By 1970, the CRA had expanded to more than 600 members. They initiated an annual business management seminar wherein experts in various aspects of rental operations presented their views and opinions for operating improvements. Additional features implemented in the early 70s included a bumper sticker advertising campaign, safety and security manuals, tax shelter and profit-sharing programs, a post-convention tour, and a chapter president's orientation meeting. In 1974, the board approved a training program for rental employees.
Take this counter and thank you very much. Okay. My name is Joe Novak. I'm chairman of the California Rental Association Training Committee. We want to welcome you to the rental industry. In 1964, I started in a position that many of you are now. I've learned a lot along the way, and some of it the hard way. That's why the California Rental Association decided to develop and produce this new employee orientation to make your job a little bit easier and more rewarding.
The late 70s saw a resurgence in emphasis on advertising, employee training, insurance, and security. By 1980, the regular and associate membership approached 1,000 individual companies and operations. There are now 15 chapters representing more than 700 rental operations from Eureka to Calexico, and more than 100 members from all over the world who claim membership in the CRA.
With the advent of the 80s, the California Rental Association is financially assisting with local chapter advertising, has developed 9 hours of employee video training in 3 different programs, and sponsors several seminars each year. The annual convention features many speakers on multiple aspects of rental operation and business. They provide continuous legislative monitoring and political action.
I'm very bullish on the rental industry, not only in California, but throughout the United States. I'm very optimistic, as are most of our members. I think that we have merely scratched the surface in the rental industry, and in future years we will find that people will be renting every possible conceivable type of equipment, clothing, furs, jewelry, cars, etc. There will no longer be ownership involved. I've been fortunate enough to have been associated with the California Rental Association for 27 years as executive director. I can honestly say that we have one of the strongest associations in the world, and that we have done an outstanding job for our members. We have fought legislation, we have proposed positive legislation in Sacramento, and we have all kinds of experts, legal, accounting, security, and get all different types of advice for the purpose of helping our members run their business. I think that in the future, the association will grow. I think that we will add a tremendous amount of new rental companies and new ideas. We have had a couple of bad years, but the 1984 is the start of something that's going to be really great, and we will jump off and go to ever-expanding horizons.
Thanks to the foresight of these and others,
Now for a look at the future. We'll ask the 1983-84 Board of Directors for their comments.
In the past 30 years, the rental industry has grown from its humble beginning to a recognized place in the business world. At the present, we can look back at a few lean years and can now see it bouncing back with a new vigor and a very bright outlook for the future. To continue successful growth, it must take advantage of new techniques and continue to improve its image. We can hold our heads high and be proud to be a part of this great industry.
What are some of the most difficult problems you foresee for the rental industry in California?
Well, I see our changing of the new equipment that we rent, the safety phases of it, how we can send it out on the job to be more efficient and just to be safe for the person renting it.
What are some of the areas where the legislature is required to promote the rental industry?
Well, we have a man up in Sacramento. He does most of our legislation work for us. However, in the past, he's done some very good changes, and we see just a very optimistic outview on our future and on legislation.
I've been asked to give a short little talk about the current status of CRA, where it's been, where it's going. I would like to think ahead more than think back, even though we've got a great history behind us. We've got to look to the future. There's going to be a change in leadership in CRA forthcoming very shortly. We're got to get more professional. We've got to establish realistic pricing structures within our businesses if we're going to be here down the road. And I think that the whole industry in general just has to upgrade itself and become more professional to compete with the professionals that are going to be coming in, going after your businesses and your customers. Thank you.
In the 37 years that I've been in business in California, there's many problems come up, and we've passed them and gone ahead. But a couple of things that I see that are in the future for the rental business is the acquisition of land. The value of land has become very expensive. The zoning of land has become very difficult. And that's probably two of the most expensive things that we have to look at in the future. Outside of that, our equipment, when after the inflation starts up again, we'll probably have much higher prices, which we haven't gotten our rates up, and I think we must do that. And there'll be several new ways of putting out our equipment in different financial ways, like rent to buy and some other new production deals. But I think we'll overcome, and the rental business will flourish, and I think it'll become bigger than ever, probably one of the biggest industries in the United States. Thank you.
I've been asked to speak on what I feel CRA is. CRA is the members willing to work together to train employees, to buy, to help each other in maintenance problems and the operation of equipment. There's not an organization in the country that works so closely together to help each other out in any type of crisis that there might be. As long as we keep working together, the fellowship of CRA will continue, and we will prosper through all the coming years. Thank you.
There you have it, the California Rental Association history, proud of the past and prepared for the future.